Is now, is Joe Biden betraying Israel? And are the Joe Biden Democrats playing into Hamas's hands? Let's ask Florida Congressman Cory Mills and Brian Mast. Gentlemen, thank you for coming on. Brian, I begin with you. A lot of people, including this reporter, this host, believe that Mr. Biden's playing into Hamas's hands and he is betraying Israel. What do you think?
I think that's the truth. And he's been doing it from the beginning, saying one thing to maybe people in Detroit, Michigan that are of, an Arab background, and then saying an entirely different thing to another group that he'd stand in front of in the same day. And then just today, maybe you saw it, Nancy Pelosi and about 30, 40 other Democrats sent a letter to the administration saying no more arms transfers to Israel. And to break that down for one quick second, what that literally means is no more Iron Dome transfers. So the most measurable humanitarian effort that the United States of America puts forward, knocking indiscriminate rockets out of the sky coming from Gaza into Israel, Democrats don't want to see us transfer those rockets.
I mean, Cory, Biden's gotten cold feet within a few weeks of the massacre on October 7th. And a lot of people are just furious. Now, he may be playing for Dearborn, Michigan, or he may be playing a little bit for something outside of Minneapolis, St. Paul. But Israel, this is an existential threat, truly. And they're the only democracy in the Middle East. And they were a great American ally. What has happened to Joe Biden, or is another Afghanistan on the way?
Well, Afghanistan was just the beginning, as you know, Larry, with the way that he handled the botched Afghan withdrawal that resulted in 13 brave heroes that we should never forget's name. But we have to understand that Biden has started to pander to the radical left more and more. The Rashida Tlaibs, the Cory Bush, the Ilhan Omars, the AOCs, the ones that are the pro-Hamas sympathizers who won't actually stand with our longest standing ally in the Middle East, which is Israel. This is why President Trump was so wise in his foreign policy decisions to put things in place like the Abraham Accords to normalize relationships and to try and weaken Iran's approach. Look, a win or a victory for Hamas, a win or a victory for the Houthi rebels, who it was this administration, Biden, who chose to delist as an actual terrorist organization, is a win for Iran. A win for Iran is a win for China, Russia, and North Korea, who they're geopolitically aligned with. So we have to look at this not from a singular foreign policy focus, from a geopolitical alignment to what this means moving forward for America on the world stage.
Thank you for all that, Jim. Brian, come back to you, if you will, Brian Mast. Speaker Johnson has a dilemma, tough bill now. Ukraine and other foreign aid funding. There's some money in there for Israel. There's some money in there for Taiwan. But I think it's $60 billion mostly for Ukraine. But then the question is, do you need to tie that to the border, which you may have heard Senator Marsha Blackburn. I mean, the catastrophe at the border and its lack of law and order throughout the country is getting worse, not better. And Biden has been duplicitous about that. What happens here, Brian Mast? How do you personally see this?
Look, I think it makes it more palatable for some in the House if you tie border to Ukraine or Israel or Taiwan or something else. But the fact of the matter is, we are a Congress that came in and we made a commitment to the American people that there'll be germaneness to each thing that we vote on, one thing related to the other. And so I think it would be wholly responsible for the Speaker to say, he can move a vote on Israel aid, he can move a vote on Ukraine aid, he can move a vote on Taiwan aid or something else, or border, or you name it. But would you buckle all of those together? That's a promise broken to the rank and file members of the House, like myself, like my colleague, Mr. Mills, that is not what we signed up for. We want to vote on things individually, because just because it might be global affairs and foreign affairs doesn't mean everything's exactly the same.
Yeah, I mean, omnibus is bad and minibus is bad. And that's kind of what this is. I agree with you. I think that's an important point. Cory, one other thing that's floating around from Lindsey Graham and also Donald Trump is the aid to Ukraine in the form of a $60 billion loan. If they succeed, they'll pay it back. If they don't succeed, it'll be gone. What do you make of the loan idea?
Well, I don't like the Lend-Lease program they had established before, but if you actually look at the details, Senator Lindsey Graham also stated that he wants language on the loan that says that it can be withdrawn or deferred, meaning that he's basically going ahead and utilizing the premise of it being a loan with the intent of making it free money. At $35 trillion in deficit, we're going to spend next year more in servicing our interest than we'll spend for the entire annual budget of our national defense. We have hundreds of thousands who have died under Joe Biden with open borders. We've got 178 plus countries and over 400 plus people on known terrorist watch lists coming into the U.S. from the north and south. You've got all the things that Marsha Blackburn was just talking about with regards to angel families who are adding up, just like with Lincoln Riley. So I think that we need to start thinking about our own borders, our own security, our own sovereignty, and our own economic prosperity before we start throwing out free money to areas of the country where you have, for example, the EU, who has $190 billion in frozen Russian assets they profited $3.5 billion on that they can utilize. This is actually an area that can be used. And if it's not an offset, if it's not a pay for, like we put forth on the Israel aid package to offset with 87,000 IRS agents, or Green New Deal spending that we can offset for a pay for, or even the unused COVID funding, that's where we need to be at. Focus on America, focus on American prosperity, not foreign, governments who want to secure their own people for corrupt practices.
Brian, I mean, these are all great points. Brian Mast, I want to give you the last word on this. I agree with you about the need for segmentation, compartmentalization. I don't like these omnibus or minibus bills at all. But if you're going to help with Ukraine, wouldn't it be better with suggestions like an inspector general, for example, to oversee the funds, or some language that would mandate some kind of off-ramp peace negotiations? This thing could go on forever as a stalemate. I don't know whether you agree with that or not, but I'm just going to ask you in the last moments here, does any of that make sense to you?
Well, we're almost at day 800, and there have been independent audits of what's going on there. But I think you pointed out one of the biggest problems. Nobody on the face of this earth can tell you whether it has to be the end of this war being war crime tribunals for Vladimir Putin, or all Russians are out of the Ukraine or Crimea, or there's nuclear demilitarization because of what they've done, or demilitarized NATO borders, or whatever. You can't find the national security strategic objective that is being sought since day one or day 200. Or 600 or 800 that we're almost on. And that's one of the biggest problems we face. We lost objectives.
Got it. You put it much better than I did. Thank you.